Okay, so this is session number 7. Before I'd combined both the freight and order time along with the open PO tools, but I thought just for the sake of time and maybe trying to get a little bit more in depth with the freight tool, we just kind of split those up. So today we'll focus on the freight and order time tool, and then next webinar we'll talk to the open PO tool. Okay, so we'll go through an example of the freight and order time tool. So this is a tool that's provided on a weekly basis, basically every Monday. And obviously two main focuses are obviously the two separate pieces with freight and order time. And so we'll kind of start with the kind of go from left to right here. Feel free to interrupt if you have any questions about the specific tool. And again, we focus on freight because it's in general a pretty significant margin driver for the business in general for furniture. So we want to track and measure how freight's going with each vendor. So that's why we spend time developing this tool specifically for freight. So this summary tab here, kind of walk through an example. Basically, we have the vendor information, the total vendor cost, the freight dollars, the freight percentage, and the average order weeks. And the average order weeks, again, is the average time it takes from the time you place the order with that vendor to the time you receive the merchandise in-house. And with this list, it's going to be sorted by the total vendor cost. So in this example, Southern Motion's at the top, and followed by the freight dollars, etc. So again, it's going to be sorted by the total vendor cost. That's why Southern Motion's there. So again, just kind of gives you a total summary for all vendors. Again, you can look at a specific vendor here with this pull-down list. You can maybe just look at, again, this is going to go from a timeline standpoint, this is going back a full year, so 365 days. If we only want to look at the last couple months here, this is in March, so we can just, again, select a couple of last couple months here, and gives you a new list. Okay. If you want to look at just, again, maybe something that's been received in that same period of time, again, you can deselect all first, and then select March, February, and January. So again, this is going to give you everything that was received within those 3 months, kind of a snapshot for your business. Okay, clear that. And then with the category summary, again, we can select maybe a certain category here, for example, bedroom. So this will give you all the bedroom vendors for this business. Again, it's going to sort by that total vendor cost, that column B there. Okay. You also have the capability to look at standard versus special orders as well, this filter. And I kind of highlighted there that a comment, and this comes up quite a bit as we start to deploy these tools to different stores, is that in order for it basically to show up on this tool, the cost and the freight of the invoice has to be matched. That's the only way we were able to pull the data directly from the point of sale system and put it into this specific tool. So, and again, as we go through this with different clients, we again try to highlight that the cost and freight have to be matched based on invoice. Okay, that's kind of gives you the summary, gives you again the vendor cost, the freight information, freight percentage, as well as the average order time. Okay. The next tab over, excuse me, is the order time trend. So what this is going to do is give you basically a summary over the last 12 months on a monthly basis. And in this particular example, I've filtered on England as the vendor. So you can see kind of over the last 12 months, on average, it's been roughly 3 weeks. As far as the average order time, again, from the time you place the order to the time you receive the merchandise. The other thing you can do as far as specifics with this particular one, if you see a month that's maybe higher than normal, and I'll look at, for example, January 1st, it's not much higher, but maybe 3.8 versus the average of 3. So what I can do is go to this row here where January 1st is in the table, and where it says 3.8 for the average order weeks. I can double click on that, and it's going to give me all the information for the POs that came in January of this year. It's going to give you all the POs information, the quantity, cost, freight, etc., and then basically order weeks. And you can basically sort and filter on any of these columns here to really understand, again, going back to this chart, maybe what drove that in the month of January for that order time to be 3.8 weeks. Maybe it was a single PO. Again, you can be able to tell that with the detailed information. Again, so I just went to this cell where 3.8 is, I double clicked on it, and it opened up a new sheet. You can see to the left of the order time trend called sheet 1. Again, you can rename that sheet to whatever you like. England order time. Okay, and just basically save this to your hard drive, so all the details are there. Okay, that's the order time trend. Okay, again, you can do it by typically you'd like to look at by vendor. You can also look at special order versus non-special orders. Kind of show you what the time difference is there, as well as looking at a category level as well. And this tool can be useful, obviously, both from an order time and freight standpoint. But for example, if you were going to be meeting with, if you have England as a vendor, you're going to be meeting with them this week. Basically, you could pull this information up. Again, this tool is provided every Monday. You could pull this up, print this chart out, and obviously, if there's an issue with freight, or from order time and/or freight, basically you'll have the data to support, maybe the freight dollars are trending up or the order time is trending up. And so maybe just obviously the rep should know that, but obviously this data will help support that if there's any issues. Okay. The next one is the order time distribution. So in this case, we're looking at FlexSteel vendor. So what this is showing is if we look at the chart on the right, the blue bar represents the quantity of pieces. Again, we're looking at back the full 12 months. So it's, for example, 1,391 total pieces have come in within a period of 2 weeks. 636 within between 2 and 4 weeks, etc. And then the red bar, or red line graph, I should say, is basically a cumulative percent. So really, how to read this is it's basically a confidence level or something that you could actually use with your sales specialist in your stores to quote lead times to customers. It's actual data. So again, we can look at an example. So basically, one way to read this is 85% of my FlexSteel merchandise comes within a period of 8 to 10 weeks. So basically, within 10 weeks, 85% of my material for merchandise comes in from FlexSteel. Obviously, if it's a balance, if you tell a customer on FlexSteel, well, it's going to take us more than 20 weeks to get your merchandise in, you may not have many customers coming in for FlexSteel. So it is a balance based on this data. But again, instead of guessing or trying to maybe go by gut, this is actual data for each vendor based on actual order time. Again, this is going back a full year. What you can do is instead of going back a full year, you can say maybe, well, let's look at, again, in this case, just last couple months here. Okay, so the distribution may be a little bit different. 77% between 10 and 12 weeks, 99% at that period between 12 and 14 weeks. Okay. So again, keep in mind that this goes back a full year. Okay, so that's kind of the order time information. So you have overall trend information, and then kind of a distribution based on total number of pieces and when they come in. And then the next one is the freight summary. So this focus here is on the top 20 freight vendors. So this will graph the top 20 freight vendors for your business, and it's going to sort based on freight dollars. So in this case, Flex Steel is at the top. Overall freight percentage is 4.4%. Okay. And again, if you look at the chart on the right, the blue bar is actual freight dollars. Again, like I said, it's going back a full year. And then the freight percentage is the red bar. Okay. So what you want to try to look at is kind of going from left to right. If there's any maybe vendors that are out of line based on a freight percentage relative to their freight dollar. So you can obviously see this Shaw Industries, which is, I believe, a flooring vendor here, is way out of line based on freight percentage. And then the Leggett and Platt is also a very high freight percentage. So you may want to basically dig into those to find out, is it maybe one PO or is it a consistently high freight percentage. Obviously, we're looking at your top 20 freight vendors overall, but if you try to go work on trying to reduce the freight, for example, with, in this case, IFD or New Classic, it's obviously a good thing, but it's going to be very difficult to move the overall needle if you're, say, at 9.8% for your top 20 freight vendors. So maybe the recommendation or suggestion is to focus on these vendors on the far left here to see what maybe different processes or different strategies you could implement to try to reduce freight with some of your top freight vendors. In this case, the top three would be Flex Steel, England, and Southern Motion. Again, just like the previous tables, if we want to look at, for example, Jonathan Lewis is really high at 23%, we can basically double-click there, and it's going to give me all the POs associated with Jonathan Lewis. Again, we're looking at the full year. We can look at, again, special orders or non-special orders. We can sort by freight dollars here. Okay. Cost, and basically you could, I don't think we have a calculation here, but you can, again, since this is a spreadsheet, you can just basically add a column and take, I want my freight percentage, so take this divided by my total cost, and that gives me a percentage for each item. It gives all the details, what category, information, when it was received, the order month, etc. Okay. Again, like I said, we're in the freight summary tab. I double-clicked on that 49,000 or 48,000 for Jonathan Lewis, and opened that new sheet called Sheet 2, and I gave all the detail for Jonathan Lewis. Okay. Any questions so far?
Nope.
No, I'm following along.
Okay. All right. So again, it's your top 20 freight vendors, and then just like the order time trend, we also can look at a freight percentage trend by vendor, or we can look at all vendors combined. Again, typically you look at individual vendor. So in this case, we're looking at England upholstery vendor. So you can kind of see it's fluctuates quite a bit between roughly 10.5% to almost 12.5%. Again, the other thing you can do, like I said, is look at a specific point. So on this, for the month of July last year, it was 12.2%. So I can go here to this 12.2% and find out again more details. What's in that 12.2%? Maybe what drove the freight high. Again, we can do insert a column and do the freight calculation. and kind of see maybe some higher freight numbers here. There's a 17.9. There's a 17.4. Again, you can sort this on the actual freight percentage as well. But the idea is it gives you more information on the actual, understanding what's driving the higher freight with England. Again, we can look at another vendor, for example, Flex Steel. Okay. And pretty consistent between 3 to 5%. That example. Okay. And then the final tab on the far right here is the PO detail. So what it's going to do is going to give you the total with this by vendor. So it's going to start with Flex Steel. It's going to give you each individual PO. So there's your PO number. It's going to give you the total quantities in that PO, if there's any cost and freight, the order weeks, the freight percentage, the receive date and order date. And one thing that's been requested, I guess, from multiple clients now is be able to filter on, in some cases you'll have a service PO versus a non-service PO. And so we're working on being able to do that, to split the service POs out from standard POs. I think that could drive some of the, especially the order times, the order weeks. In some cases, maybe a long order week. Again, just gives you all the details, basically with each PO number and all the details. Again, if you want to just look at, go back to the top. And just look at, for example, we'll look at England. I can select England. It's going to give me just the England POs, the cost with each of those POs, the freight, etc. Okay. Okay. So that's kind of the summary here. Again, we focus on freight because it's a margin driver within your business. So we will be able to track that. Again, like I said, this is a very useful tool if you're getting ready to meet with a certain vendor. You can basically pull up their information and even have the details behind it. In this case, for example, England, you could pull up all their POs and look at the cost and freight information as well as the order time. Again, this tool is provided on a weekly basis. We provide both a Excel version as well as a PDF version. So PDF, obviously, you can pull open and quickly take a look. I think in the PDF version we only provide basically the summary tab information that gives you the total cost, freight percentage, and average order time. Okay. Okay, so that's really all I had today to kind of a refresher course, if you will, for the freight and order time tool. But are there any other questions?
Don't think so. Pretty clear.
Okay.
Yep. I'm good.
All right. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time. We'll look to get the next webinar set up to talk through the Open PO tool. And obviously, if any questions, feel free to reach out to me about freight, order time offline as well.
Thank you, Brian.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.